the first tip that I'd like to give you is how to convert audio files to different file formats from within iTunes. Many people have asked me before what program they can use, and some have even been willing to pay for a program that they can use just to convert from MP3 to AAC or from AAC to MP3. And that's because many people don't realize you can do that from within iTunes. So if I'm going to open just any album, I'll just open Bruno Mars. Now what if I wanted to convert this to an MP3 format? So at the moment, if I just right click on this bar at the top, I can choose a new option to show, kind. So I can see that the type of file, it's a purchased AAC audio file. So this is an AAC file. But now I want to convert it to an MP3 file because I just purchased a new phone and it doesn't support AAC. So I need an MP3 file. So how do you do that? Well, you can just go to iTunes Preferences, and currently my import settings are set to AAC. So if I right click on my file, you'll see I get an option to create an AAC version. But I don't want an AAC version, I want an MP3 version. So if I go back to iTunes Preferences and I change my import settings from AAC to MP3, and I choose the quality that I want, then I can click OK. And then when I right click on the file, I now get an option to create an MP3 version. And if I select that, you'll see iTunes processes it, and just like that, the MP3 version has been created. And now to follow on from converting files, I want to show you how to create your own custom iPhone ringtones. The iPhone is an exceptionally great phone. As far as I'm concerned, it's the best phone in the world. But it comes with a very limited selection when it comes to ringtones. So you obviously have a song that you really like, and you'd like to be able to keep that as your iPhone ringtone. So how can you do that without paying for it? Well, there's a very easy way to do that. It's using the same trick that I just showed you in how to convert files, but with a little twist. Tones need to be less than 40 seconds long. That's a very important part of this trick. So you need to listen to the song that you have and decide what 40-second section of the song you want to convert into a ringtone. So if I play back my file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the song and I'm going to say get info, and then I'm going to go to the options tab, and now under options I'm going to choose my start time and my stop time. This is the key to this whole trick. You need to make sure that between the start time and the stop time it's not longer than 40 seconds. So you can have any 40 seconds you want out of the song. Let's say that it starts at 1 minute and 2 seconds. Then the stop time can be anywhere between 1 minute and 2 and then 1 minute and 42. So I'll just make it 1 minute 40. So I'll click OK. And now I'm just going to go back to my preferences. You want to make sure that your import settings are set to AAC. Okay. And now with that, I'm going to right click again and I'm going to say create AAC version. And now you'll see that it's created the AAC file, but only during the time period that I selected before. So now this file's only 38 seconds long. So I'm going to double click on that. So now you can see that the song no longer starts at the beginning and it's only 38 seconds long, which is great. That's exactly what I want. But it's not quite yet ready to be made into an iTunes ringtone. The next thing we need to do is we need to drag this new file we just converted to our desktop. It doesn't matter where you put it, it's just temporary for now. We'll delete it when we're done. And then we need to rename the extension from M4A to M4R, R for ringtone. Make sure that you use the new file that you converted and not the original. So I'm just going to select the file, and then I'm going to click it again so that I can rename it. And I'm just going to change the A to an R. And then I'm going to get this warning box that says, are you sure you want to change the extension from M4A to M4R? And I'm going to say use M4R. And now what I need to do is I just need to go to my iTunes preferences, and I want to enable ringtones under the Generals tab and click OK. Now we have the Ringtones tab available to us in our sidebar, so I'm just going to go to that window, and now I'm just going to drag the file into this window. And now we have our new ringtone available for us, and we can plug in our iPhone and sync it with our iPhone and use it as a ringtone or an alarm. In iTunes, there is the possibility of creating multiple iTunes libraries and just switching between them as you need. So by default, when you open iTunes, it just automatically opens the last library that you had open, your default library. So I'm going to quit iTunes. If you go to your music folder, you'll see that there's an iTunes folder, and then within the iTunes folder you have all your iTunes files. This library, this folder is my iTunes library, labeled iTunes. But I can create multiple folders or libraries that have different content. And to do that, when you open iTunes, hold down the Option key on your keyboard and then click on iTunes. And immediately you see the option to choose iTunes library. So you can choose an existing library or you can create a new one. So I'll create a new one, and it's going to be in my music folder, and I'm going to call it iTunes Test. So if I click Save, you'll automatically see iTunes opens up with a clean library. There's nothing inside it. All the settings have been reset. And if I go to my Finder window, there's a new folder in my music folder for iTunes Test. So that might come in handy for those of you who have different content that you want to keep separate and you want to manage in separate libraries. That's an easy way to do it. And to switch back to a previous library, it's easy enough. When you just quit iTunes, next time you open it, hold down the Option key again, and now you can say choose library, and you can just choose between the two. So I'll just choose iTunes and click open, and now my other iTunes library is available to me. And on that note, we'll end here. That's all for this AppleTV tutorial. See you next time.